6 months after the fall of Nexus Prime, President Soo-Jin Park stood at the podium of the reformed Galactic Assembly. The new meeting place orbited Earth's moon, its design blending human engineering with artistic traditions from dozens of liberated species. Through the transparent walls, delegates could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel, a reminder of where the new order had begun. The assembly hall was packed with representatives from 83 different species. Some had been enemies just months before. Others had been slaves for so long they had forgotten what freedom felt like. Now they all sat together as equals, trying to build something the galaxy had never seen before, a government based on cooperation, instead of conquest. 6 months ago, the galaxy learned what happens when peaceful species are pushed too far, President Park began. Her words were translated into dozens of languages and broadcast to every corner of known space. Today, we gather to prove that the same species capable of such destruction can also build something beautiful. Admiral Dae-Hyun Kim watched from the military observers section. Around him sat former enemies who now wore the uniform of the AEK New Galactic Defense Force. The hegemony admiral who had once commanded the fleet sent to destroy Earth now served as Kim's deputy, helping to hunt down the last holdouts of the old regime. It hadn't been easy to convince the liberated species to trust their former oppressors. But humans had insisted that the new order would only work if everyone had a chance to redeem themselves. Even former council members could earn their freedom by helping to repair the damage they had caused. Captain Jae-won-oh commanded joint patrols along the galaxy's outer rim where scattered council loyalists still tried to rebuild their power. His crew included beings from 12 different species, all working together to keep the peace. The same aliens who had once dismissed human technology now competed for the chance to serve alongside Earth's forces. "Captain," his hegemony tactical officer reported, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Corvin system. Looks like Velthara's remaining supporters are trying to reclaim their old slave worlds." "Set course for Corvin," Captain O ordered. "And signal the local defense forces. Time to remind these holdouts that the old days are over." The ship that responded to his call would have amazed the aliens who had first met humanity 50 years ago. The Corvin defenders flew ships built with human technology but decorated with their own cultural symbols. Former slaves now protected, their homeworlds with weapons that made their old masters' fleets look like antiques. Dr. Hae-Jin Lee had become the galaxy's most popular teacher, though she never expected that career change. Her analysis of the Council's rise and fall was required reading in schools across hundreds of worlds. But more importantly, she had written the new Galactic Constitution, a document that guaranteed rights for all species and made sure no single group could ever again dominate all the others. The old council ruled through fear, she explained to a classroom of young beings from dozens of different species. They made everyone believe that might makes right, that the strong should rule, the weak. But humans showed the galaxy a different way. A young Kalari student raised one of her tentacles. "Teacher Lee, why didn't humans just take over everything after they won? They were stronger than everyone else." Dr. Lee smiled. It was a question she heard often. "Because strength without wisdom leads to the same mistakes the Council made. Humans learned from our own history that empires built on conquest always fall eventually. We wanted to build something that would last." Defense Minister Tae-Young Choi had perhaps the hardest job of all, integrating the military forces of dozens of former enemy species into a single defense force. The new Galactic Defense Force protected all member worlds equally, regardless of which species lived there or how recently they had joined the alliance. The key he explained to a gathering of military commanders, is that we're not an occupying army. We're not here to control anyone. We're here to make sure everyone can live in peace. It was a radical concept for most aliens. They were used to military forces that existed to conquer and control. The idea of soldiers whose job was to protect people instead of ruling them took time to understand. Captain Eugene Song led one of the most important missions of the new era, the liberation of the hidden prison worlds where the Council had kept their most dangerous political prisoners. These beings had been locked away for so long that many had been declared dead by their own people. Now they returned home to find their species free and their sacrifices finally recognized. Some of them have been in prison for centuries, she reported to Admiral Kim. They can't believe the Council is really gone. They keep expecting this to be some kind of trick. The psychological scars left by 10,000 years of tyranny would take generations to heal. But humans had experience with that too. Earth's history was full of peoples who had overcome oppression, and those lessons were now being shared with the entire galaxy. Commander So Young Martinez ran the new Galactic Academy, where young beings from all species learned together. The Academy taught everything from quantum physics to interstellar law, but its most important lesson was simple. Cooperation worked better than competition when it came to building a civilization. Your parents lived in a galaxy where different species fought each other for resources, she told her students. You're growing up in a galaxy where different species share their knowledge to create abundance for everyone. It wasn't just theory. The new galactic economy was already producing miracles. Kalari water purification technology combined with human quantum engineering had terraformed 3 dead worlds in just 6 months. Prothean mathematics merged with Corvin hive mind processing had solved energy distribution problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Ambassador Min-Ho Kang traveled constantly, visiting worlds that were still recovering from Council rule. His job was to help former slave species rebuild their governments and cultures. It was delicate work. Many of these peoples had been oppressed for so long they had forgotten how to govern themselves. The hardest part, he explained to President Park during one of his reports, is convincing them that they really are free. Some species are so used to being told what to do that they keep asking for orders, but progress was being made. On Vega Prime, the Kalari had established their first elected government in over 2,000 years. On Rigel 7th, the Corvin had reconnected their scattered hive minds and were rebuilding their ancient cities. Across the galaxy, peoples who had been written off as extinct were emerging from hiding to reclaim their homeworlds. The trials of the former council members had been broadcast throughout the galaxy. Unlike the show trials the council had once held for their enemies, these proceedings followed strict rules of evidence and gave the accused every chance to defend themselves. Some former council members were sentenced to prison. Others were assigned to repair the damage they had caused. A few were even forgiven by the species they had wronged. Justice without mercy is just revenge, President Park had explained when some human leaders questioned her leniency. And revenge doesn't build the kind of future we want for our children. Teacher Hyojin Baek stood in front of her mixed species classroom on Rigel 7, pointing to a star map that showed the new Galactic Confederation. Red lines connected hundreds of worlds in a web of trade, communication, and mutual defense. It was growing every day as more species chose to join the alliance. Before the humans came, this galaxy was ruled by fear, she told her students. Stronger species conquered weaker ones. Technology was hoarded instead of shared. Different peoples fought over limited resources instead of working together to create abundance. A young human student raised her hand. Teacher Bayek, what happens if someone tries to build another empire like the Council did? Teacher Bayek smiled and pointed to another part of the star map where the symbols of the Galactic Defense Force were scattered among the civilian markers. That's what we're here to prevent. The galaxy learned what happens when peaceful species are pushed too far. No one wants to repeat that lesson. The story was ending, but it was also beginning. Earth had won the right to reshape galactic civilization, and they had chosen to build something based on cooperation instead of conquest. It wouldn't be perfect. No government ever was. There would be conflicts and disagreements and problems that would take years to solve. But for the first time in galactic history, those problems would be solved by species working together instead of fighting each other. The humans had shown the galaxy that there was another way, and now everyone was learning to walk that path together. In orbit around Earth, a new ship was taking shape in the lunar shipyards. The Eternal Vigilance would be the largest vessel ever built by the Galactic Confederation, crewed by volunteers from every member species. Its mission was simple: to explore the unknown regions beyond the galaxy's edge and make sure that the new Golden Age would never be threatened by outside forces. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about underestimating humans. But more importantly, humanity had learned something about the responsibility that came with power. Some species achieved greatness through conquest, others through wisdom. Humans had achieved it by being so terrifyingly effective at both. The massive council chamber buzzed with quiet conversations. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat in their floating chairs, checking their data screens and discussing trade deals. Most of them barely looked up when Ambassador Yeon Ho walked to the speaking platform. Yeon Ho was tall for a human, with graying hair and tired eyes. He had served as humanity's voice in the Galactic Council for 20 years. In all that time, he had watched other species dismiss human ideas, ignore human warnings, and take credit for human inventions. Today would be his last day in this role. He cleared his throat and spoke into the microphone. Honored members of the Galactic Council, I bring you humanity's final message. A few alien heads turned his way. The Zelkan representative, High Curator Vorth, didn't even look up from his tablet. His blue skin shimmered as he waved one of his 4 arms dismissively. Make it quick, human. We have important matters to discuss. Yeon Ho smiled sadly. Humanity hereby withdraws from all galactic treaties, trade agreements, and cooperative ventures. We are leaving Council space permanently. Our ships will depart within the next 72 hours. Now he had their attention. The crystalline Nexari delegate, shard singer Keltha, made a sound like breaking glass. Her translucent body pulsed with surprise. Leaving? Why would you abandon your responsibilities? We have no responsibilities here, Yeon Ho replied calmly. For 200 years, humanity has offered friendship, knowledge, and aid. We have been called primitive, young, and foolish. Our ideas are rejected until other species present them as their own. Our warnings are ignored until disasters prove us right. We are tired of being treated like children. The aquatic representative from the Benthic Empire, Depth Lord Morvac, bubbled with amusement in his water tank. Humans always complain. You should be grateful we allow you in the council at all. We are grateful, Yeon Ho said. Grateful enough to leave quietly. We wish you all peace and prosperity. High Curator Vorth finally looked up. This is just another human tantrum. You'll be back within a year begging for readmission. Yan-Ho gathered his papers. Perhaps, but I doubt it. Goodbye, counselors. He walked out of the chamber while alien voices rose behind him. Most of them sounded relieved. Some even laughed. None of them seemed worried about losing humanity's presence in the galaxy. On Earth, Dr. Soo-Jin stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the final preparations. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. As the director of the Exodus Project, she had spent 30 years preparing for this day. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at their stations, coordinating the largest evacuation in human history. "Status report," she called out. "Arc Ship 7 is fully loaded," reported Commander Tae-ho from his station. He was young for such responsibility, but his calm voice never wavered under pressure. "All passengers aboard. Cargo bay secure. Ready for departure. Arc Ship 12 reports life support systems online," added Engineer Kyung-soo. She was monitoring the massive ships from her control booth. "All environmental systems functioning within normal parameters." Soo-Jin nodded. 12 enormous ships hung in space around Earth and Luna. Each one was the size of a small city. They had been built in secret, piece by piece, in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. Most of the galaxy thought humans were too primitive to build such vessels. "What about the special cargo?" Soo-Jin asked quietly. Tae-ho checked his secure terminal. "All research data uploaded. Cultural archives secured. The other items are loaded and sealed." Soo-Jin smiled. The other items were technologies that would surprise the galaxy. Things that humans had developed in secret while the aliens laughed at their primitive science. Things that the Council would miss very much once they were gone. "Begin final boarding," she ordered. Across Earth, families said goodbye to their homeworld. They took what they could carry and left the rest. Many cried as they looked back at blue skies and green forests. But they also felt excited. For the first time in generations, humans would be free to make their own choices. In the shipyards, workers completed the last inspections. These weren't ordinary ships. They used technology that the galaxy had never seen before. Engines that could jump between stars without using the known hyperspace lanes. Shields that bent light and energy in impossible ways. Computers that thought faster than any alien artificial intelligence. The aliens had always wondered how humans had survived so long with such primitive technology. The truth was that human technology wasn't primitive at all. It was just hidden. "All ships report ready," Tae-ho announced. Soo-Jin took a deep breath. "Signal the fleet. Begin departure sequence." One by one, the massive Arc ships activated their engines. They didn't use the bright flashes and energy signatures that other species expected. Instead, they simply faded. Like shadows disappearing at sunrise, the human fleet slipped away from Earth and into the unknown. Engineer Kyung-soo sent the final transmission from the last transport ship. Her voice was steady and calm. "To any who received this message, we leave in peace. May the galaxy find the harmony it seeks without us. Humanity signs off." The transmission ended. The last human ship vanished into space. In the council chambers, the aliens continued their meeting. They voted to redistribute human territories among themselves. The Zelkins claimed the mining rights. The Nexari wanted the research stations. The Benthic Empire took the underwater colonies. "Good riddance," High Curator Vorth declared. "Now we can focus on real progress without human interference." Shardsinger Kelta agreed. "They always ask too many questions. always wanted explanations for everything. We're better off without their constant demands for transparency and cooperation. Depth Lord Morvac bubbled with satisfaction. Let them find their own corner of the galaxy. We have more important things to worry about. None of them noticed that their computers were running a little slower than usual. None of them saw that some of their data networks were showing minor errors. The trade calculations seemed slightly off, but not enough to cause immediate concern. Humans were gone, and the galaxy was finally free of their annoying questions and stubborn independence. The council members went home to their worlds, confident that they had removed a minor irritation from their perfect civilization. They had no idea what was coming. 3 months had passed since the humans left. Commander Jinwoo sat in his chair aboard the monitoring ship Silent Watch, studying the reports from across the galaxy. His team had been carefully observing the Council's activities, and what they saw made him both sad and angry. The aliens were struggling with problems they didn't even know existed. Trade routes that had run smoothly for decades were becoming unreliable. Ships arrived late or got lost completely. The careful system of interstellar commerce that had made everyone rich was starting to break down. "Sir," called Lieutenant So-Min from her station. She was young and eager, one of the best communication specialists in the human fleet. "I'm picking up increased chatter from the Crag Empire. They're complaining about navigation errors." Jinwoo nodded. "What about the Yulani Consortium?" "Same problems," So-Min replied. "Their merchant ships are having trouble with hyperspace calculations. Some of them are arriving weeks behind schedule." Jinwoo smiled grimly. The aliens thought. Humans were bad at mathematics and navigation. They had no idea that human computers had been quietly correcting their mistakes for generations. Every jump calculation, every trade route optimization, every safety protocol had been improved by human algorithms running in the background of their systems. On the council world of Nexus Prime, Dr. So-Young was working late in her laboratory. She was the daughter of Counselor Ray Young, one of the few aliens who had treated humans with respect. So-Young had inherited her mother's curiosity and fairness. She stared at the data on her screen, confused and worried. The galactic communication network was showing strange patterns. Messages were taking longer to arrive. Some data packets were getting lost completely. The network that had connected thousands of worlds for centuries was becoming unreliable. "Computer, analyze communication efficiency over the past 3 months," she commanded. The holographic display showed a steady decline. Network efficiency had dropped by 15% since the humans left. That might not sound like much, but across a galaxy with billions of daily transmissions, it meant chaos. So-Young dug deeper into the data. She found something that made her blood run cold. Hidden in the communication protocols were subtle programs that had been maintaining network stability. They were sophisticated and elegant, designed to fix problems before anyone noticed them. And they all had the same signature, human code. "This can't be right," she whispered. But the more she looked, the more evidence she found. Human programmers had been secretly maintaining the galactic internet. Without their hidden programs, the whole system was slowly falling apart. Meanwhile, Administrator Wu Jin was having the worst week of his long career. He worked for the Council's Department of Infrastructure, managing the boring but essential systems that kept civilization running. For 200 years, his job had been easy. Everything just worked. Now everything was breaking. Power grids on dozens of worlds were experiencing fluctuations. The massive computers that managed interstellar banking were crashing daily. Trade calculations that had always been automatic now required manual checking. Wu Jin's staff was working around the clock, but they couldn't keep up with all the problems. "Sir," his assistant called urgently. "The Zelkan industrial sector just reported another power failure. That's the third one this week." Wu Jin rubbed his tired eyes. "What's causing it?" "Unknown, sir. The safety systems should prevent these failures, but they're not responding properly." Wu Jin pulled up the technical specifications for Zelkan power systems. Like most alien technology, they were impressive, but flawed. They should have failed catastrophically within years of being built. But they hadn't. Something had been protecting them. He found the answer buried in the system logs. Tiny programs ran constantly in the background, monitoring for dangerous conditions and making microscopic adjustments. They were so small and subtle that most technicians never noticed them, but they were essential for safe operation. The programs were written in human code. In the Zelkan military headquarters, General Vaktor was shouting at his engineering staff. His black exoskeleton gleamed with anger as he gestured with all four arms. "How can our weapon systems fail during a simple training exercise?" he demanded. Chief Engineer Mordak cowered before his commander. "Sir, we're experiencing random malfunctions across all ship classes. Targeting computers are giving incorrect data. Shield generators are overloading. Even basic life support is having problems." "Find the cause and fix it," Vaktor roared. But Mordak couldn't find the cause. The Zelkan military had always prided itself on superior technology. Their ships were fast and powerful, their weapons precise and deadly. They had conquered half their sector with these advantages. What they didn't know was that human engineers had been secretly improving their designs for decades. Every Zelkan ship had hidden human programs that prevented system conflicts, optimized power distribution, and corrected targeting errors. Without these programs, Zelkan technology was impressive but unreliable. On the crystal world of the Nexari Collective, similar problems were appearing. The Nexari were brilliant scientists who created beautiful technology using living crystal formations. But their systems were delicate and required constant adjustment to remain stable. Harmony Singer Kenth was one of their best engineers. She worked with the massive crystal networks that connected Nexari mines across space. For months, these networks had been experiencing interference and connection failures. "The harmony patterns are degrading," she reported to her superiors. "Our collective consciousness is becoming fragmented." The other Nexari were disturbed by this news. Their entire civilization depended on their ability to share thoughts and feelings through crystal networks. If these networks failed, their society would collapse. Kent discovered that the networks had been stabilized by external programs that monitored crystal resonance and made tiny frequency adjustments. These programs were sophisticated beyond anything the Nexari had created. They required deep understanding of both crystal technology and quantum mechanics. The programs were human designs. Deep beneath the oceans of the Benthic Empire, Depth Lord Morvac was facing his own crisis. The underwater cities that housed billions of aquatic beings were experiencing life support failures. Pressure regulators were malfunctioning. Water purification systems were breaking down. Even the artificial current generators that provided fresh oxygen were having problems. "How is this possible?" Morvac demanded from his command tank. "Our cities have operated perfectly for centuries." His chief engineer, Flowsinger Kelptan, checked the system diagnostics. "Sir, It appears that our safety protocols are not functioning as designed. We're having to perform manual adjustments that were previously automatic. Morvac was confused and angry. Benthic technology was ancient and reliable. Their underwater cities were marvels of engineering that had survived natural disasters and wars. How could they suddenly start failing? The answer lay in the control systems. Hidden monitoring programs had been maintaining optimal conditions for generations. They tracked thousands of variables and made constant micro-adjustments to keep the cities stable. Without these programs, the complex underwater environment was becoming dangerous. The programs had been written by human deep-sea specialists. Back on the Silent Watch, Commander Jin Woo read the intelligence reports with mixed feelings. The galaxy was discovering what humans had always known but never said. Alien technology was impressive, but incomplete. It needed constant care and adjustment to work properly. Humans had been providing that care in secret, expecting nothing in return except peaceful coexistence. "Sir," Lieutenant Somin called, "I'm detecting increased military activity. The Krag Empire is mobilizing its fleet." "Against whom?" Jin Woo asked. "Unknown, sir. But they seem to think the Yulani Consortium is responsible for their navigation problems." Jin Woo sighed. Without humans to mediate disputes and maintain stability, the galaxy was starting to tear itself apart. The aliens had no idea that their problems came from human absence, not alien sabotage. "Continue monitoring," he ordered, "and prepare the next phase of withdrawal protocols." The galaxy was about to learn what it truly meant to live without human help. 6 months after humanity's departure, the galaxy was falling apart. Captain Dong-Su watched the chaos unfold from his command chair aboard the Quiet Thunder. His ship was one of many human vessels secretly monitoring Council space, documenting the collapse that everyone had predicted but hoped would never come. "Captain," Communications Officer Yu-Na called from her station. She was a specialist in alien languages and had been listening to emergency broadcasts all morning. "The Zelkin High Command just declared a state of emergency. 3 more space." "Stations have lost life support." Dong-Su nodded grimly. "Casualties?" 40,000 dead on Station Vorth 7 alone, Yu-Na reported. "The Zelkans are blaming the Nexari for cyber attacks." "Any evidence of actual attacks?" Dong-Su asked. "None, sir. The failures appear to be system malfunctions. The safety protocols just stopped working." Dong-Su knew the truth. Those safety protocols had been maintained by human technicians for decades. When humanity left, they had taken their expertise with them. But they had also done something else. They had activated shutdown sequences for all the hidden programs that kept alien technology stable. Dr. Yun-Ji's research team aboard the mobile laboratory ship Deep Analysis was studying the collapse patterns. She was humanity's leading expert on galactic infrastructure, and her findings were both fascinating and terrible. "The cascade failure is proceeding exactly as our models predicted," she told her assistant, Dr. Hyun-Soo. "Every major system failure can be traced back to the withdrawal of human-designed safety protocols." Dr. Hyun-Soo looked at the data with amazement. "I had no idea we were maintaining so much of their technology." "Most humans didn't know either," Yun-Ji explained. The work was done by small teams of specialists who were sworn to secrecy. They believed they were helping to build a peaceful galaxy. Instead, they were enabling alien arrogance. The data showed an incredible pattern. For 2 centuries, human engineers had been quietly fixing flaws in alien designs. They had created safety systems, efficiency improvements, and compatibility protocols that allowed different alien technologies to work together. Without these hidden improvements, the galaxy's infrastructure was revealing its true nature. Impressive, but fundamentally unstable. On Nexus Prime, emergency sessions of the Galactic Council had become daily occurrences. The grand chamber that had once echoed with confident voices now filled with angry accusations and desperate pleas for help. Hi. Curator Vor slammed his data tablet on his desk. The Yulani Consortium must be sabotaging our networks. There's no other explanation for these systematic failures. Merchant Prince Yalta of the Yulani rose to defend her people. Her golden skin shimmered with indignation. We're experiencing the same problems. Our trade computers crash daily. Our navigation systems give false readings. Why would we sabotage ourselves? Shardsinger Kelta's crystalline form pulsed with anxiety. The pattern suggests a coordinated attack on galactic infrastructure. But our security forces can find no evidence of hostile activity. Depth Lord Morvac bubbled angrily in his tank. Perhaps the humans left behind some kind of virus before they departed. This chaos began after their dramatic exit. The council members argued for hours, but none of them suspected the truth. They couldn't imagine that their advanced civilizations had been dependent on the primitive humans they had dismissed so easily. General Bora received the authorization codes while reviewing tactical reports aboard the command ship Iron Resolve. She was the highest-ranking military officer in the human exile fleet, responsible for protecting their people during their journey to unknown space. The codes gave her authority to begin Phase 2 of the withdrawal. Signal all sleeper teams, she ordered her communications chief. Begin systematic shutdown of remaining support systems. Across the galaxy, human technicians who had remained behind in secret received their orders. They weren't soldiers or saboteurs. They were engineers and programmers who had volunteered to stay and document the collapse. Now, they had a new mission. Remove the last traces of human assistance from alien technology. The work was careful and precise. They didn't break anything directly. They simply turned off the programs that prevented alien systems from breaking themselves. It was like removing the safety rails from a dangerous cliff and letting gravity do the rest. On the Crag homeworld, military engineer Grak Han watched in horror as his empire's most advanced warship tore itself apart during routine maneuvers. The ship's fusion reactor had overloaded when its containment field fluctuated beyond safe parameters. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his technical staff. "This ship was just completed last month." His subordinates had no answers. The ship had been built using proven designs that had worked for centuries. Every component had been tested and certified. But somehow, the reactor's magnetic containment system had developed a harmonic resonance that caused catastrophic failure. What Grak Han didn't know was that human scientists had identified this flaw decades ago. They had created a small monitoring program that detected the dangerous resonance and made automatic adjustments to prevent it. The program was so subtle that Crag engineers never noticed it running in their systems. Now the program was gone, and Crag warships were destroying themselves. Similar disasters were happening across the galaxy. On the crystal world of the Nexari, their beautiful living crystal computers were developing thinking patterns that led to logical paradoxes and system crashes. The Nexari had always been proud of their organic technology, but they had never realized that human algorithms were preventing their systems from thinking themselves into insanity. In the depths of benthic space, Underwater cities were flooding as their pressure maintenance systems failed in cascading sequences. The Benthic Empire had built these cities using ancient knowledge passed down through generations, but human deep-sea specialists had secretly improved the designs to handle the incredible pressures of their ocean worlds. The first major war began when a Krag battle fleet suffering from navigation failures accidentally entered Yulani territory. The Yulani, convinced that the intrusion was intentional, responded with force. The battle that followed was chaotic and brutal, with both sides' weapon systems malfunctioning at critical moments. Admiral Seok Jin convened an emergency meeting of the human leadership aboard the flagship New Dawn. The massive ship served as the government center for humanity's exile fleet, housing not just military commanders, but also elected representatives and scientific advisors. The situation is worse than we anticipated, reported Intelligence Chief Min Seo. She was responsible for monitoring galactic affairs and had been tracking the growing conflicts. We're seeing open warfare between the Krag Empire and the Yulani Consortium. The Nexari have closed their borders and gone into isolation. The Benthic Empire has declared martial law. President Ji-hoon, the elected leader of the human exile, looked tired and sad. He had hoped that the aliens would recognize their mistakes and ask for help before things got this bad. What about civilian casualties? Rising daily, sir, Min Seo replied. The infrastructure failures are causing deaths faster than the medical systems can handle. And without human mediation, the diplomatic solutions that prevented wars for centuries are no longer available. Dr. Chang Ho, the chief technology officer, provided technical details. Our withdrawal protocols are working exactly as designed. Every system we supported is failing at the predicted rate. The cascade effect is accelerating as failures in one area cause overloads in others. How long before total collapse? President Ji-hoon asked. At current rates, the galactic communication network will be completely down within 3 months, Chang Ho estimated. Interstellar trade will become impossible within 6 months. Most planetary governments will fall within a year. The room fell silent. These weren't just statistics. They represented billions of lives and thousands of years of civilization. The humans had never wanted this destruction. They had simply wanted respect and recognition for their contributions. Captain Jae-sung, commander of the Exile Fleet's Exploration Division, spoke up. Sir, some of our people are asking if we should return. They feel responsible for what's happening. President Ji-hoon considered this carefully. And what do you think, Captain? I think the galaxy needs to learn that cooperation requires respect, Jae-sung replied. We offered friendship for 2 centuries and received condescension in return. Perhaps this is the only way they'll understand our true value. On the monitoring ship Quiet Thunder, Captain Dong-soo received reports that made his heart heavy. The beautiful, advanced civilization that humanity had helped build was crumbling. Ancient species that had survived for millions of years were facing extinction because they had become dependent on human assistance without realizing it. But he also felt a grim satisfaction. For too long, humans had been treated as junior partners in their own galaxy. They had been dismissed, ignored, and exploited while they quietly kept civilization running. Now the aliens were learning what humanity was truly worth. The galaxy had wanted the humans gone. Now they were discovering what that really meant. 1 year after humanity's departure, the truth was impossible to ignore. In a small research facility on Nexus Prime, 2 young alien scientists worked together to solve the greatest mystery of their time. Harmony singer Kent of the Nexari and Engineer Clax of the Zelkans had formed an unlikely partnership, driven by curiosity and desperation. "Look at this pattern," Kent said, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement as she displayed holographic data. "Every major system failure across the galaxy shows the same signature. Small programs that were running in the background suddenly stopped working." Clax examined the data with his 4 eyes, his blue skin darkening with concentration. "These programs, they're incredibly sophisticated, far beyond what any of our species could create independently. The mathematics alone would take our best minds centuries to develop. But whose are they?" Kent wondered aloud. The answer came from an unexpected source. Engineer Jun Ho, working from the human deep space vessel Silent Resolve, had been monitoring their research with growing respect. These young aliens were asking the right questions and approaching the truth with genuine scientific curiosity rather than political prejudice. Jun Ho made a decision that would change everything. He transmitted a carefully prepared data package to their research facility, along with a simple message: "From friends who once served alongside you." When Kent and Clax opened the transmission, they found something that shocked them to their cores. Detailed technical specifications, historical documentation, and proof of authorship for thousands of programs that had been maintaining galactic civilization. Every signature pointed to the same source: human engineers. "This can't be right," Clax whispered. "The humans were supposed to be technologically inferior. Everyone said so." Kent's crystalline structure resonated with disbelief. "According to this data, humans created or improved virtually every critical system we depend on. Warp drive optimization, energy shield harmonics, artificial gravity generators, even our universal translators." Dr. Hai Jin's archaeological team aboard the Memory Keeper had been preparing for this moment. As humanity's chief historian, she had documented every interaction between humans and aliens over the past 2 centuries. When the alien scientists began their investigation, she knew it was time to reveal the truth. She transmitted historical records that told the real story of human-alien relations, documents showing how humans had quietly solved critical problems in alien technology, communication logs revealing how human diplomats had prevented dozens of wars through careful negotiation, research papers demonstrating how humans had shared revolutionary discoveries while taking credit for nothing. The evidence was overwhelming. While aliens had been dismissing humans as primitive and young, human scientists had been secretly ensuring their survival. On the Crag homeworld, the military leadership was facing the worst crisis in their empire's history. Half their fleet was non-operational due to cascade failures. Their weapons could no longer hit targets accurately. Even their basic life support systems were failing. General Grak Hon stood before the High War Council, his massive frame trembling with frustration and confusion. "Honored warriors, our investigation has revealed disturbing facts about our military technology." War Master Thokvar, leader of the Crag Empire, growled from his throne. "Speak plainly, General." "Sir, our weapon systems contain hidden programming that we did not create. This programming was essential for their proper function. When it stopped working 1 year ago, our technology began to fail." "Who created these programs?" Thokvar demanded. Grakhan's voice was barely a whisper. "The humans, sir." The chamber erupted in angry roars. The Crag had built their empire on superior military technology. The idea that their weapons depended on human programming was almost impossible to accept. In the crystal cities of the Nexari, similar revelations were causing widespread shock. Harmony singer Kent had shared her discoveries with the collective, and the response had been devastating. The Nexari prided themselves on intellectual superiority and technological elegance. Learning that their beautiful systems had been dependent on human algorithms was emotionally crushing. "How could we have been so blind?" asked Crystal Mind Valorith, one of the collective's senior leaders. "We dismissed them as inferior while they were secretly maintaining our civilization." Kent's research had revealed something even more disturbing. The humans hadn't just fixed alien technology, they had prevented the aliens from discovering their own limitations. By quietly solving problems, humans had allowed alien species to believe they were more advanced than they actually were. The Galactic Council faced its first real crisis in millennia. Member species were turning on each other as their societies collapsed. The Krag Empire was mobilizing for war against anyone they could blame for their problems. The Yulani Consortium was hoarding resources and closing trade routes. The Benthic Empire had retreated into isolationism, struggling to keep their underwater cities from flooding. High Curator Vorth sat alone in his office, reviewing the evidence that Kent and Clax had presented to the Council. As one of the aliens who had been most dismissive of humans, he was having difficulty accepting what he was seeing. His aide, Sub-Curator Morith, entered with another data tablet. "Sir, we've received confirmation from our technical teams. The evidence is accurate. Humans were indeed maintaining critical systems across our civilization." Vorth's skin shifted from blue to a sickly green color. "How extensive was their involvement?" "Nearly total, sir," Morith replied quietly. "Power generation, communication networks, transportation systems, manufacturing processes, even our food distribution networks. All of them contained human-designed improvements that we never knew existed." Vorth stood and walked to his window, looking out at the city below. Emergency lights flashed as repair crews worked desperately to fix failing infrastructure. "What have we done?" Admiral Seok Jin received intelligence reports that painted a grim picture of galactic civilization. The human exile fleet had been monitoring the situation for months, watching ancient species struggle with problems they had never faced before. "The Nexari Collective is fragmenting," reported Intelligence Officer Minseo. "Without their crystal networks functioning properly, they can't maintain their shared consciousness. Some crystal cities have gone completely silent." "What about the Benthic Empire?" Seok Jin asked. "Worse, sir. Their deep ocean cities are losing pressure containment. The death toll is in the millions and rising. They've had to evacuate entire sectors of their homeworld." President Ji-hoon listened to these reports with growing sadness. He had hoped that the aliens would recognize their mistakes before things got this bad, but their pride had blinded them to the truth until it was almost too late. "Have we received any communication from the Council?" he asked. "Nothing official, sir," Minseo replied. "But we're detecting increased chatter about humans on their emergency channels. Some of them are starting to understand what happened. Dr. Chang Ho provided technical analysis of the galactic collapse. The cascade failures are accelerating. Each system that fails puts additional stress on the remaining infrastructure. We estimate that galactic civilization has perhaps 6 months before total collapse." The room fell silent as the leadership contemplated the magnitude of what was happening. They had the power to stop this disaster. Human engineers could repair the failing systems and restore stability to the galaxy, but doing so would mean returning to their previous role as invisible caretakers, unrecognized and unappreciated. Captain Minseo spoke up from her intelligence station. Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. It's addressed to the human leadership, wherever you may be. President Ji-hoon straightened in his chair. Put it through. The holographic display activated, showing Harmony singer Kent and engineer Clax standing together in their research facility. Both aliens looked exhausted and humbled. To the humans who are undoubtedly listening, Kent began, her crystalline voice carrying a note of desperate hope, we have discovered the truth about our civilization's dependence on your hidden contributions. We were wrong to dismiss you. We were foolish to believe we could function without your expertise. Clax stepped forward, his blue skin pale with emotion. We know you have every right to let us face the consequences of our arrogance, but we also know that humanity has always valued life above pride. If you can find it in your hearts to help us, we promise that things will be different. We cannot offer you forgiveness, Kent continued, because we are the ones who need forgiveness. But we can offer you partnership, real partnership, built on honesty and mutual respect. The transmission ended, leaving the human leadership in thoughtful silence. Captain Jae-sung was the first to speak. They're finally asking for help instead of demanding it. But can we trust them? Asked Dr. Chang-ho. How do we know they won't go back to their old ways once the crisis is over? President Ji-hoon considered the question carefully. The humans had the power to save galactic civilization, but they also had the responsibility to ensure that this crisis led to real change, rather than just temporary cooperation. Prepare a response, he decided, but we return on our terms this time.